If you're a high school student or a parent of one, you know the feeling all too well. The whole college search thing has turned into this all-consuming pressure cooker of stress and anxiety. It honestly feels like this one single decision is going to define the rest of your life. So, okay, let's dive in and see if that's actually true.
I mean, this is the question, right? This is what keeps everyone up at night. We've all been taught to believe that there's this handful of elite, super highly ranked schools, and those are the only golden tickets to a successful life. But what if that's just a myth? In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on what's really happening in the world of college admissions. So let me just throw a number at you. 58,000. That is how many applications Clemson University got for a freshman class of just 4,500 students. That number is just staggering, and it shows you how intense this whole thing has become. And you know, Clemson is just one example of a system that's basically at a boiling point.
And behind all these huge numbers are real people, real students like Mia. She had a perfect 4.0 GPA, she took 10 AP classes, had a great SAT score, she did everything right. She applied to 18 colleges. But when the decisions started coming back as deferrals instead of acceptances, even a top student like her was just filled with doubt. And her story, well, it's becoming the new normal.
So let's start by just calling this what it is. We are smack in the middle of a college admissions frenzy. It's become this unsustainable, anxiety-fueled arms race, and it's totally overwhelming students, their families, and honestly, even the colleges themselves.
And here's a really key detail you've got to understand. This isn't happening because there are more students applying to college. It's happening because the same students are sending out way more applications. Just look at Minnetonka High School in Minnesota. The number of applications their seniors filed doubled in just 5 years. There's actually a name for this. It's called application inflation.
And this has a huge domino effect. Think about it. When everyone applies to these same 25 top schools, what happens to their second and third choices, the so-called target or safety schools? Well, they suddenly get flooded with applications from all these other high-achieving kids. The whole system just gets more and more competitive from the very top all the way down.
So, why is this all happening? Well, it really boils down to one incredibly powerful idea: the myth of prestige. It's this cultural obsession we have that a school's value is all about its ranking and how few people it lets in.
Okay, check this out. This slide shows a really fascinating gap between what students want and what they get. On the left, you see the top schools where students at a really good public high school applied, and on the right, that's where they actually got accepted. See anything interesting? The lists are completely different. It just goes to show you how much the chase for a brand name is driving everything.
But getting into that big pond with all the other big fish, it's not always the best thing for you. Psychologists actually have a name for this idea. It's called the big fish, little pond effect. And the theory is that being a standout student at a great, but maybe less crazy selective university can actually build way more confidence and lead to better grades than just trying to stay afloat in a sea of hyper-competitive peers.
Just take William's story. He had the winning ticket, right? He got into Columbia University, but he gave it up for the University of Minnesota. Why would he do that? Well, he found the Ivy League world was just this zero-sum game for status. But at a big state school, he found the classes were just as tough, but his classmates were focused on working together and building real connections, not just padding their resumes.
Now, beyond this whole myth of prestige, there's another massive force at play here, and it's one that's usually happening behind the scenes. It's the money game. The economics of higher education have completely changed, and it's totally reshaping where students go to school.
So here's what happened. When states started cutting funding for their public universities, those schools had to find money somewhere else. And their solution led to this thing called the Great Student Swap. They started recruiting tons of out-of-state and international students because, well, they pay a lot more in tuition. It's like they're trading students across state lines.
And this shift has been absolutely massive. I mean, look at the University of Alabama. In 2002, only about 23% of its students were from out of state. Fast forward 20 years, and that number skyrockets to 65%. That's not just a change, that's a complete transformation of the student body, and it's all driven by money.
But here's the twist. This whole situation doesn't just mean you have to pay more. For a lot of families, it's actually created what you could call a buyer's market. To get those high-achieving, out-of-state students to come, colleges are now borrowing a trick from private schools. They're offering big tuition discounts, called merit aid, to attract the exact students they want on campus.
Okay, so with all of this chaos and competition, what's the solution? Where do we go from here?
Well, it really takes a huge shift in how we think about this. We need to stop focusing on where you go to college and start focusing on what you do when you actually get there.
This is it. If you take away only one thing from this, let it be this. What you do in college is so much more important than where you go. The name on your diploma matters way, way less than the experiences you have, the skills you learn, and the people you meet during those 4 years.
And hey, this isn't just some feel-good idea. This is what employers are practically yelling from the rooftops. Study after study shows that businesses are looking past the degree itself and are focusing on these so-called soft skills. They want people who are curious, who have grit, who can communicate and work with others. A diploma alone just doesn't prove you have those things anymore.
And here's the proof in the pudding. Over half of college graduates who don't get an internship while they're in school end up underemployed 5 years later. That means they're working jobs that don't even need a college degree. And listen to this, that's true no matter how prestigious their college was. At the end of the day, experience beats prestige.
You see, success isn't about just getting through the fancy gates of a particular school. It's about what you do once you're on the other side. It's about finding that professor who becomes a mentor, who really invests in you. It's about hunting down research opportunities and getting real, hands-on experience that shows you can actually do the work.
So, let's bring this all home. How do you actually do this? How do you reframe your entire search to find what is truly your dream school, and not just the one somebody else told you to want?
We really learn from Mia's story here. First, actually visit the campus. You can't just rely on a website. Seeing a place, talking to students, it can completely change your mind. Second, figure out what you actually value before you even start looking. And third, dig deeper than the rankings. Look for real, tangible opportunities that match up with your goals.
So this is the new mindset, the new framework. Instead of chasing prestige, look for real value, both academically and financially. Instead of obsessing over rankings, search for genuine fit, a place where you feel you belong. And instead of valuing exclusivity, hunt for opportunity. That is how you find a place where you're not just going to survive, you're going to thrive.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought. We always think of a dream school as this place that's super hard to get into. But what if the real dream school isn't a place you get into, but a place you create for yourself, wherever you end up, through your own actions, your own curiosity, and your own hard work? Now that's a race you can always win.